We bring in Turron Davenport, of course, USA Today. He joins us now on the Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN. And Turron, I guess you look at it, they just had the rookie camps. You got a chance to see Pumphrey. Smallwood is here. They got Sproles, and then they brought in the kid Clement. But it was kind of like it felt like there was a missing piece. Did Howie Roseman go out there and find the missing puzzle piece?
Yeah, I think they did find the missing puzzle piece. I think what this is going to do is help this offense a lot because they're going to get more plays on offense because you're going to see more first downs. You look at a lot of the situations they were put into last year, 3rd and short, or even goal line situations where they weren't able to punch it in and get that extra yard. It was because they didn't have that guy that could be that hammer for them. But now you have it. And then in addition to that, you look at just what he's been able to do as far as securing the football. He fumbled twice last year on 299 carries. So, there have been some late games, the Dallas game where Kelsey got blown up and thrown into Smallwood causing a fumble. Then you had the Ryan Matthews fumble in the Lions game. So these are going to be opportunities for them to put games away in that 4-minute offense and have that big 240-plus pound guy that secures the football, carrying the ball to protect late leads.
Yeah, he mentioned that he split time in New England, and there were some weeks that he had 25 carries for 130 yards, and then the next week he'd have 13 carries. It seemed that, his role was kind of undefined up there. They used him some weeks, and other weeks he was out of the game plan. Does he feel that there's a more of an opportunity, more of a defined role for him with this team?
Well, I think he understands it's going to be a split situation because obviously Sproles is going to get his touches. They're going to find a way to get Pumphrey the ball. And you want to be able to complement his powerful running style with a stretch style, stretch plays with Pumphrey and with Sproles and let their speed. So he knows that it's going to be a mixture of things. But one thing he did say, he didn't say that, there were a certain amount of carries that he needed to get, but he did mention how getting consistent carries will help you as a running back because you like to get a feel for the running game. So, it's going to be a mix. He knows it's going to be a mix, but he's going into there expecting to win the lead back role. And, we'll see what happens. I think they have a nice mixture of guys. I think this really makes it a little bit cloudy for a guy like Corey Clement. So we'll see what happens there. But, they, without a doubt, have a nice group of running backs to choose from. And it's like, whatever situation they need, they have a guy that could fill it, and that's the good thing for them.
Turron Davenport with us. Turron, you said 245. I think the Eagles list him at 250. Up close and personal, does he really look that big?
Yeah, I would say every bit of at least 240. He said at the end that he's, where he needs to be. He wouldn't give a number on his weight. But, frankly, as long as he's able to get behind those pads, run downhill, and bounce off the tackles the way that he's been able to do over his career, and you look at last year, he rushed for 18 touchdowns, and that was as a guy that, was a part of a committee with Deion Lewis and some of the other guys. So I think he's fine right where he is, wherever he should be, whether it's 245, 250. He'll be all right, and he just has to get behind those pads and gain those tough yards.
You talked about those 299 carries last season, and Blount said, I guess, that he feels great despite all those carries. So you see him as a bell cow kind of guy here and that he could do the same thing here?
I think he could do that here. I don't think it's going to happen, though, because you look at Doug Peterson, he's a guy that, he's fond of passing the football. That's what he wants to do. So I think they'll throw the ball a good amount of time. So that won't really be something that he'll even be able to approach, even if he wanted to. He did say that he's fully recovering. That's a high carry season, what he went after last year, regardless of whether it was, 25 one week and 10 the next. It was still, that's a lot of carries. And he said that, he's fully recovered and ready to go, but he's not going to get that high amount of carries, not in my book.
How much, though, does having a Legarrette Blount help the play action? If they want to pass, if that's what they want to do first, how much does he add to that?
Well, I tell you, man, you get those 3rd and short situations, or, if Peterson feels like gambling and you have a 4th and short, and they were able to establish the run earlier in the game, well, what do? You play action, and you have your tight end running that crossing route, or, you figure those type of plays out, and it could lead to something really big because you see 8 in the box, and everybody just crowding the line to stop that short yardage, and it gives guys like Ertz and Matthews and Jeffrey, you could do play action and hit Jeffrey on the post from, the backside, and that could be a really good opportunity for a big play. So I think it's going to help a lot. It's going to make teams keep honest, and, be honest against the run and against the pass, which is something I said this team needed for quite some time, because you look at a lot of times, teams just fell back into nickel and, zone coverages and nickel packages with zone coverage, and they just, dared the Eagles to pass the ball, and they were going to stop it, So that's more or less the way it was. It's not going to be that way now, because you have a consistent running threat, as long as he stays healthy, which shouldn't be an issue.
Talk with Turron Davenport from the USA Today, covers the Eagles, and Legarrette Blount met the media today, so his first opportunity to tell his side of the story. Number one, the feeling, Turron, of the NFL teams that say, all right, what's up here? Why New England doesn't want this guy? How come? Seems too good to be true. 18 touchdowns, 1,200 yards. Why? Why New England letting them go? Does that enter your mind at all when you're covering this team and wondering how the Eagles get their hands on like, it seems like the perfect piece to the puzzle here? Why was he available?
No, it shouldn't really be of concern. The Patriots are a team that just, they allow people to leave. And if it's not Tom Brady, you're going to be able to walk. We'll probably see that eventually with Gronkowski, in the coming years. I wouldn't be shocked if he moves on. We all know that barring injury, he's one of the ultimate weapons in the league. So it's just one of those things where this is a team that, has a system that's above the players, and it doesn't matter who you are, offense or defense, outside of Tom Brady. You could go. And, Chandler Jones, look, they flipped Chandler Jones for a guard that's not even on the team anymore, when they traded him to the Cardinals. You look at Patrick Chung. He came here, and then they gladly accepted him back, and he signed a big deal. There's so many guys. They just traded one of their top linebackers to the Browns last year. That's just the way it works, man. When they determine that, your value is not there, and they have other guys to replace you, then they're going to do it. They signed 2 other running backs. I know Giselle from Buffalo, they signed him, and another guy, I forget his name. So they just brought other players in, and they're going to just work their system.
We're talking to Turron Davenport here, and I know the name Corey Clement came up a minute ago, Turron. So how do you think all the running back, where does everybody slot? Where does everybody break down in the way that you envision that they're going to use each guy? And is Corey Clement then in trouble of not making the roster? Do you see him as a practice squad kind of guy?
Yeah, I think he'll end up on the practice squad. You got Pumphrey, you got Sproles, you got Smallwood, and you got Blount. I think they're going to carry 4 running backs. Byron Marshall is an intriguing name also, so we'll have to see, how they go about, because I can't see them carrying 4 backs, and it just is not something that's likely, because they're going to probably have to carry 5 or 6 receivers. So I think Clement is really on the outside looking in. He's a perfect practice squad candidate, so we could see him end up there.
Turron Davenport with us, and you look at obviously he's a guy, Blount, to you look at his situation in New England. It's a winning team. He said that New England wanted him back, but he felt that this was a better fit for him. Are you buying that?
Yeah, well, they did want him back. They placed a tender on him, and the tender is pretty interesting, the way it was set up, whereas if a team didn't sign him, I think it was by July 13th. It was at some point in July. If they didn't sign him by then, he couldn't sign with any other team until week 10 of the season. And if he didn't sign by week 10, then he just was going to be out of football, period, for 2017. So I think they wanted him. They put a tender on him. It was a May 9th tender that they put on, which, allowed them to get compensation as far as the comp picks. It went into that equation also. So they just did a really, really good job of knowing the cap and finding a loophole that would work in their favor. And, I think they wanted him, but, there was a price, and they just weren't going to go above that price. And then in addition to that, they did get other guys.
So, Turron, now that this is in place, give us your overview of how you see this offense. It seems that they got versatility at all the skill positions on this team. You got 3 different kind of wide receivers. You actually have 3 different kind of tight ends. You've got a bunch of different guys at running back. So how do you see the whole puzzle now put together? How do you see it working out?
Well, I'll tell you this much. If Carson Wentz doesn't have an outstanding season, then, there's no excuses because the line is there. All the weapons are there. You got running backs galore. You pick what you want to do on offense, and that team could do it. So I think it's a very complete offense. I think it's really going to come down to Carson Wentz and his ability to get the football to these guys, his ability to see and believe what he sees and deliver the ball to Alshon. It's going to come down to their ability to convert on third and short. They have to avoid penalties. That's something that has been a Achilles heel to them last year, as far as having a lot of third and long because of dumb penalties. So they're going to have to avoid those situations. But I think it's a complete offense. It's one that could, win games from game to game. It could be a different type of win. One week
right.
they could pass the ball 40 times, another one they could run it 30.
Hey,
so it's just going to be interesting to see how that works.
What's your take on, all the one-year deals? What's the message there?
Well, I think that's just, I think this Blount one-year deal is one to where, okay, listen, you're going to come in and you have an opportunity to establish yourself. And if you don't, that's fine because there's this thing called the draft, and 2018 is pretty well stocked at running back. So I could see them, letting Blount go and getting a running back. You look at Jernigan, I think he's one that they are really hoping to be able to prove himself worthy. Warmack is going to be interesting also because they like the offensive line, as far as stacking depth there. So that's going to be interesting. But Alshon, I think, is the biggest one. And that was an opportunity for them to, get a guy like that in the building and just see him one-on-one, as far as how he is, not just from hearsay and from seeing him on game day. They want to see him from Sunday through Saturday, throughout the day and how he goes about, because he's going to probably get a big deal from the Eagles. I would be surprised if he doesn't. So it's just a tryout thing. That's really what it was about.
How do you see Blount fitting in differently than what Ryan Matthews gave the team and what he does for an offense? I mean, obviously they're different kind of backs. So how do you see Blount's fit? Is it a better fit than Matthews? Now, Matthews was pretty good when he wasn't always hurt. But do you see Blount being a better fit than Ryan was?
Well, it comes down to two things. Again, it's ball security. You don't have to worry about him fumbling in a late game situation, where you're trying to put the game away. And then it also, listen, I like Ryan Matthews as a running back. I said that if he's healthy, you could pencil him in for 1,000 yards. But the fact of the matter is he doesn't stay healthy, And then on top of that, Blount is an outstanding short yardage back. And to me, that's where the difference is. He is one of the best short yardage running backs. You go back and watch some of his film, whether it be the Seahawks game, where he had 3 one-yard touchdowns, and we're talking about against the Seahawks front that's top-notch. So it's just one of those things where he brings more power to the running game and security, ball security. That's how it is in my book.
Yeah, Ryan Matthews most likely is going to be getting cut, obviously, or at some point here, and he'll be moving on, and the Eagles will have the interesting camp. OTAs next week. Obviously, you talked about the 4 different running backs. You throw Clement into the mix; they got 5 there. We talked about the versatility. But where are you looking at the most intriguing offseason battles going into training camp? Who's this OTA very important for?
Well, OTA, I think, is going to be important for multiple guys. I think Ron Brooks is going to be important for him. It's going to be important for Michael Kendricks as well, because we don't know what the situation there. But I think above all else, it's the guard situation. I'm looking at these interior linemen. Kelsey, obviously, is going to be the starter as long as he's there. But you got Seumalo, you got Barber, you got, Warmack, there's Wisniewski. There's 2 guard spots. There's 4 guys who seem to be capable of starting. So that's the thing I'll be looking at, not as much at OTAs, but more training camp, because you can only get so much out of these guys, what the offensive linemen when they're not in pads. So if you're talking specifically about OTAs, I would probably say the cornerback position. It could be an opportunity for a guy like Rasul Douglas to come right in the way Jalen Mills did and establish himself as, someone who's worthy of being considered to be a starter.
Yeah, what you think of Douglas? Just, I know you guys don't get a chance to see a lot of them on the field, about a half an hour or so when you're up there, but He seems to me the guy who can make the biggest impact as a rookie right away. Do you think the Eagles are looking at him to win that starting position, or do they like Mills? They, of course, signed Robinson. How do you think they view their secondary?
I think they're looking at him to come in and win a starting position on the outside, and I don't want to think about him moving inside. He's an outside corner. He knows how to use that sideline. He knows how to get that jam on the receiver, or even just without jamming him, just redirect him by jumping inside and guiding him towards the sideline. He's a really good outside defender, so I think he'll come in and he will be a starter at that position.
All right, Turron Davenport, USA Today. The Eagles' OTAs open up on Tuesday, so we'll get a chance to see everybody out on the field. And obviously, the newest Eagle, Legarrette Blount, is in the mix, and he should be out there when the Eagles take the field Tuesday. Turron, always good, my friend.
Thanks a lot. Have a good one.